into it. Am I recording? I am recording. All right, and let me share my screen with everyone. This is going to be great. So step 2 is what we're on, approach and contact. So who can give me the 6 steps of the business? And I'll speak at once. What's step 1? Oh,
Step 1 is prospecting.
Yes, thank you, Kim. Prospecting. So a lot of times people mix up step 1 and 2 and think prospecting is, oh my God, me talking to people. Prospecting, remember, is just identifying a certain market. Now that could be, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. That could mean, just making a list of the type of people I would want in business with me. It could be the type of people who just know a bunch of people that could be good potential clients. It could be a lot of different things. Don't pigeonhole yourself. The best thing about this business that I've learned is we can't prejudge people. We never know what's going to happen. But I do want to think about, number 1, I'm not just a financial planner, advisor, financial professional, agent, whatever it is, whatever title you want to give yourself, scrap it. The real opportunity here is that you have the ability to build a business in financial services. And there are so many different roles that people can play. So think of it literally just like a team. Some people are like, if I'm playing basketball, like, I don't really know how to shoot, but I'm really aggressive and I can play hard and I'll play great defense. Great, that's your role. That's what you can do. And some people can be really great rebounders and that's what they do and that's their role. Other people are great shooters and so on and so on. This business is no different. So as you're thinking step 1, prospecting, well, I have a business in financial services. What does that look like? I need to have people who are great at maybe sales or talking to people, networking, always meet and greet people. Who are those people like that I know? Well, this is education and people like to teach. Who do I know that's a teacher or just loves to teach, always informed, always love to learn new stuff or any of that? Incredible. It could be, well, those people who just know everything. They love to learn the nuts and bolts of a product or something. I might want to have people like that. So that's prospecting. It's literally identifying, making your list. Step 2 is the approach and contact. This is actually, what do I say to people? And I think this is the scariest part for most people. I don't know if you guys agree or feel that way, but you go, what do I say? And what do I say when they say this? Well, what if I said this? What if I call and say this? And you run things through your mind so much, you just don't even call them. Because I've run through every scenario that wasn't going to work out in my favor. So just to make sure we have it in context, because I know everyone, because the steps of our business rotate week to week, I know everyone doesn't necessarily go in order. But the order of our business goes step 1, prospecting, identify your list. Step 2, what do I say to these people when I approach and contact them? 3 is I give the presentation. 4, who knows that one? Who can tell me? I know you didn't think you were signing up for
you follow up.
All right. Follow up in step 5.
Startup.
Yep.
Startup.
Yeah. Yep. So I'm following up with people after they see the presentation. Then, hey, we're going to get them started as a business partner. It could be a client, any of that, right? They're referrals. And then what is step 6? Duplication. And it's not just do it over again. That's what I used to say. Oh, now we got to go do it all over again. That's a part of it. But duplication is, okay, Christine, I figured out how to do all these things. Now, how do you scale a business, right? You can get really good at making cookies and you can sell them on your block. How do you scale that business? How do I streamline this from selling cookies out of my kitchen on my block to people in my neighborhood know it, people in the whole state, people in this country? How do I scale it? How do I duplicate the process I'm doing? And that's what we mean by that. So let's get into the nuts and bolts of step 2. Inviting. These are key 8-point tips. So definitely take a lot of notes in this class. Feel free to ask me questions. I do have the chat box open. I think so. I should be able to see anything that you guys write. Otherwise, come off mute. You know, I don't want this to be like I'm just talking at you. I really want you to get a lot out of it, because this step, to me, I think it's the debilitating one, to be honest, you know, but that's only if we allow it to be. So number one,
Right.
co-invite. What does that mean? As you have a new business partner, or it could just be you, let's be real, right? Some of the best things you can do to help empower each other is to invite with your trainer. Try not to invite alone. You don't want people just inviting for you without you knowing what's being said, not because something is going to be said incorrectly or wrong, but how are you going to learn? How do you build your confidence? Sometimes you just got to go through it, and someone else might be saying stuff. Number two, master Zoom and have good internet connection, right? I think all of us were like, I have to upgrade my modem again. I'm like, did you hear what I said? No, it was pausing in between every other word, you know, all that stuff. Three, look professional, even when on the phone. I think it just gives us a sense of identity. I was talking to Nikki earlier, and I was like, I'm sorry, I got to go. I got to flat iron my hair. Let me make sure my curls are right for today. I don't need anybody screenshotting and I look crazy, right? And then practice using the scripts. You know, you want to have that role play. I know in our office on Wednesdays before we have agent training, we do what's called PDR, practice drill role play, because you're going to hear a lot of this stuff, but you want to go out and practice. Let me actually say this and practice with Kyle, right? And getting that going. Have a sense of urgency. So when I'm on the call, when I'm on the phone, I am not trying to rush it. But at the end of the day, I have more calls to make. And isn't that attractive? No one really spends a lot of time with people who have just an abundance of time, like they have nothing to do. You're just kind of like, dang, what are they up to? What are they doing? Like, God, I kind of want to do that. It's attractive, right? It's attractive to have some things going on and not to have all the time in the world to spend on the phone with them at that time. Let them know someone will be confirming. So if you're inviting someone to a BPM, if it's a one-on-one meeting, let them know someone's going to confirm, because number one, that signals to them credibility and professionalism. You know, and it's said without being said. It's very subtle, but hey, someone's going to be confirming, meaning this is going in a schedule, just like with the doctor, right? And the doctor confirms you multiple different ways now. I mean, I had a doctor that texted me on top of emailed me and called, right, to make sure we'll be there. Tell them to take notes, and there will be, you know, many other people on the Zoom as well. And this is in regards to the BPMs, which are the Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, that we're inviting people. And then set a time to get back together after the BPM. You don't want to find yourself, number one, if I finally get up the power to call someone, because I'm so worried about what they're going to say for whatever reason. Now they're like, I get a yes. I'm like, whoo, and I let them go. And then they get called by somebody random in the office. And they're like, who is this? Who is BJ that called me? Right? And it throws them off. And it's like, why is Lupe calling me? Why did they do this? And it's not that there's anything wrong with it, but there's something to pre-framing stuff. I think when we give things context and we can pre-frame, now it seems normal. If I know an assistant is going to call, but I didn't give Ashley a heads up, and she called and she's like, are you giving my number out? What? And then guess what? You just start spiraling all these thoughts and then don't even want to get on the BPM, only because you didn't tell them someone was confirming them. Same thing with calling after. If they're not expecting you to call and reach out, like, of course I'll check it out. I'll support you. I'll help you. But then, you know, you end up chasing them and you're like, why didn't they answer? And you're like, is it because they didn't like what they heard? Did they have to get off? Was that an emergency? Maybe they're not interested. You start thinking through all of these things that could or could not be true, because they don't even have a heads up that you're calling after. So every time I invite someone to the corporate overviews, to the BPMs, I'll say, I'm going to reach out to you right after, because I want to get your immediate feedback. You know what's fresh on your head? I don't want to have an appointment. Like, it's going to be late. And they're going to be like, woof, okay, thank you. I don't want to talk. I'm going to listen to a presentation for 45 minutes, and you want to talk for another 45. That's what they're thinking, right? So, but I'm going to call you right after. I don't want to take a lot of time because it's going to be late. But I always like to get immediate feedback from people, right when it's fresh in your head and in mind, because I'd love to hear what most resonated with you. I'm not saying, I want to hear what you thought. No, I want to know what most resonated with you. What was good? What was exciting? What was new? So again, that's just pre-framing, and I am shaping their expectation. right? So I want to know what most resonated with you, so then we can set up any applicable next steps, if necessary. So they know, like, what are you calling for? You already know. So now after the BPM, when they're tired because they just got off work and then logged in, and they're not like, why is Cristine calling me now? And then if they answer, they're not thinking like, oh God, now, okay, what are they going to ask me to do? No, I'm going to set the tone. I always like calling out the pink elephant ahead of time, know what you're going to get. And then, hey, if something does resonate, then we'll set up applicable next steps after that. Okay, makes sense, everybody? I know it's super simple, but you know what? A lot gets lost in communication. And there was a quote that says the most interesting thing about communication is when we assume that it has existed. Hold on, I'm going the wrong way in my PowerPoint. Okay, here we go. All right, so personal contact. Here's some points to remember in making contact. Is number one, don't be tentative. I don't know if you guys, guys, I don't know if you guys ever asked a girl out on a date before, or girls, if you've ever done that. Like, the guy who comes up, it's kind of cute when the guy's shy sometimes and stuff, but then you just like get to it. You want to see someone who's confident, not full of themselves, but confident. Isn't that attractive? Someone who's self-assured and all that, same thing. So even though we don't really know exactly what to say, we might be apprehensive, we don't want to show that. Because at the end of the day, you guys, this is a professional quality firm. What do I mean by that? You guys, and you'll learn more as you go through, but we have something on our platform. This is unique. I started in this industry, and the firm I was with, you had to have $250,000 investable assets to be a client. Now, not that many people have $250,000 cash just sitting in the bank account for you to invest and manage. Also, there's something called active money management, where there's people who can literally watch your dollar, not like a fund manager in a mutual fund, but when there was that huge crash in 2008, when most people lost 30, 40, even 50% of what they had, there are people who had accounts that were being actively managed by these money managers who were losing barely a fraction of that. They weren't losing 40, 50%, maybe 5, 6, even 8%. Now, to get in on these platforms, I want you guys to hear me on this. You need to have like $1 million to have your accounts actively managed to that standpoint. There are some companies, my friend from college, from Boston College, works in wealth advisory, and they're a small scale business, but they work with business owners. They only take on $100 million contracts. And yet they're considered small scale. $100 million. There's companies like PIMCO, right, who are on our platform. Their clients are like Coca-Cola. You have to have $150 million. We have those exact same companies, not like something like it. No, the exact same companies on our platform that you can get in that same active managed strategy for like $25,000. You can have access to some of these companies through like Prudential and all this other stuff. So you guys, what we're offering to the consumer, no one's going to give them. So take pride in that. All of our companies, these platinum providers, which ones are gold and platinum? They pay WFG to be on our platform. And they pay even more to be a platinum provider. So if you have companies like Nationwide who can afford to pay someone like, I forget how many millions of dollars just for that jingle to say, hey, I got to be on that World Financial Group platform and I want to be a platinum provider, and pay an extra when they already have market share and exposure, but they know that we are the catalyst to move a lot of product. So take pride in that. Number two, don't get into extensive questions and answers because it's not the right time. So just think, the invite is like, hey, I made my list of some people I know can connect with this person. They can do this. This person knows this person. Hey, that person used to do this. Now I'm going to call them. And the point of my phone call is to set the appointment. I think this is where sometimes people lose it. They're like, I'm thinking of some of the people that I've put on this list that I want to reach out to. And I'm like, oh my God, yeah, they were looking for life insurance. I remember they asked about that. Oh my God, this person passed away. Oh, this person just lost their job. They might need to roll their money. For whatever reasons in my head, I put them on my paper. This person has always supported me in my life. What I don't want to do is call them and run down the laundry list of everything. Hey, Ashley, I just love that you've always been a support for me in my life. You know, even when we were in high school, girl, you know, I was doing crazy stuff, but, you know, you would listen to me, would share some stuff. And I know that you have always been there. And I would love to get together and talk to you about some of the things I'm doing. Whatever it is, your approach. But my end result on that phone call is just to get a appointment, not to go through, oh, what is it you're doing now? And this, and that. It doesn't mean to be evasive. We'll get into that in a minute. But again, I need to always have my outcome in mind. Really good business professionals, before they go into anything, I want to know who I'm talking to, why I'm talking to them, what's my outcome. So at the end, I know, hey, I got where I want it to be. So if I'm making a phone call, my absolute outcome is to set an appointment. I want to get the appointment. When I run the appointment, right, which is step 3, when I run the appointment or we have the presentation, I have a different outcome. I'm looking, number 1, that they're highly impressed by, before the company, me. I want them to be impressed with me. I want them to be impressed with the company, so much so that they would be willing to give me referrals either now or down the line. You know what I'm saying? Like, be really clear, because if I'm clear on what I'm expecting, hey, I can communicate far more effectively. And you can be on the Zoom with your guests. Like, I have 2 guests invited for tomorrow. I had a guest Tuesday. I had 3 on Saturday, and I'm always on with them. So I can see what they see, hear what they hear right after. So we can have a good quality conversation as soon as that corporate overview, the BPM, is over. If someone's married, make sure they have both on there, you know, because, you know, they're both decision makers. Even though they'll say, oh, this person makes this decision, you know, smart men know to consult their wives. And wives know, like, certain things that their husbands may do, or your partner, your spouse. It's just, you came into a relationship together and you usually dream together, and they know different people. So have them both on. And then mastering the invitation makes you more effective. In part 2, what we're going to do on Saturday, we're going to go through more of the words, and I'd love for us to practice and be interactive, okay, on Saturday as well. There we go. So here's the thing, becoming a fisher of men. What does that mean? What are we fishing for? People right now. So I have to master human nature, because sometimes, you know, you've talked to the right person. Someone has come to you. Here's the bizarre stuff that happens. People will come to you and be like, oh my gosh, I heard you're in financial services, and, you know, can you help with like retirement planning and all this stuff? And they're like, yeah. And so they'll call Miguel, let's say, and they're looking for something. And Miguel's like, yes, I'll help you. And then they'll schedule an appointment with Miguel. Miguel's excited about sharing some things about this, and then they don't show up. And you're like, you came to me looking for advice and help, and how do you not show up? Or how did you not confirm? Or why did you do this? And then, or sometimes people are rude. I'm telling you, 99% of the time, it's not about you. It's people. And when you look at these 10 points of human nature, number 1, people are quick to jump to conclusions. Tell me that's not true or true. Because I'm sure you have. I know I have. I've looked at stuff and be like, I know she don't know what she's talking about. And I'm like, what am I doing, Cristine? That's negative. You know, or I'm watching a basketball game and I'm like, that don't even look like a basketball player. Or I'm like, I don't know why we do it, but it is human nature. We see things. It saves us in life, drawing connections. Hey, oh, that's a dark alleyway. I should not walk down there. You know, you could get killed. I've seen SVU. Like, we do that logically to help us. Why wouldn't we do it in anything else? Someone calls me and is just like, oh, I really want to talk to you, Cristine, because you're so ambitious and entrepreneurial, and I know you're just a boss, and I think you could do, and I'm like, what are they talking about? What are they trying to get me into? I'm like, they sound like they're not giving me any information. They sound a little shady. I'm jumping to conclusions about it, right? So we need to know that ahead of time. People can be naturally skeptical. Like it or love it, there are a lot of people out there who are just naturally skeptical. And the thing is, it's not always from a bad place. A lot of people who are skeptical have been scammed. You know, I have people in my brother, I don't think he'll mind me sharing, but like just trying to move into an apartment, you know, right out of college. And there's people scamming people for money, saying these apartments are free and are available, and they aren't, and trying to wire, like, there are people who legitimately do crazy, terrible things. So people have a guard up. Also, people procrastinate, not me, but you guys. Like, I never procrastinate, like, you know, ever. Yeah, right. People procrastinate. We put things off. Our spirit is always willing. But the flesh is weak. Like, oh, I'm gonna work out tomorrow. I'm gonna get at this after the new year. No, actually, after we travel after August, we're gonna, honestly, procrastination is one of the biggest reasons that people don't achieve their financial goals and dreams. We just wait. We keep putting it off. We keep putting it off. So the fact that people put you off is okay. I want anybody to write in this chat if you've ever scheduled an appointment, hair appointment, doctor's appointment, all of the appointments we've scheduled in our life. Is there any one person on this call that hasn't ever rescheduled? They're not showing up. I think I'm not like, I don't reschedule all the time, but I can't say that there's never been a time I haven't rescheduled or just canceled, you know? Or what about parties people invite you to and you're like, I'm gonna be there. You could even have the best of intention and then you're just so tired. You go like, I can't go. I can't get there. I can't do it. So it just happens. It's not you. It's not WFG. It's not that you didn't say it right. It's people. People set big goals. People are highly curious. But guess what? People don't think they can sell. They're like, ooh, because, you know, trying to like push something on them. It's one thing if people come to me looking for stuff, but to try and entice people and do all this kind of stuff. My brother said I procrastinate, right? I've learned to just say, I'm thinking. I'm not even I'm just thinking. Yeah, right. Like the worst thing, especially in this Zoom world, is like I wake up on time and still be late because I just lay in the bed to see how much longer I can wait. I don't know if you guys ever do that, but I'm like, Cristine, what are you doing to yourself? But people often think they can't sell because it's like, God, if I have to convince, right, someone they need something that they weren't already looking for, it's like I'm pushing something on them that they don't want, right? That's just naturally what we think about sales. Now, we can change that way through a communication and other ways to look at it, but let's be real, that's what it is. Well, if someone wasn't looking for it and now I'm trying to convince them why they need it, it's like, God, I'm that pushy person. So people, when they hear this and they even think it is incredible, they're like, I don't know if I could sell, because that's what they're thinking about when they're thinking sell, right? They don't like insurance salespeople. Why? Because everyone has heard something bad about the insurance person that did something. And I was one of them, to be honest. My grandmother passed away, paid into an insurance policy forever. That's another story for another day. But when she passed, literally they had to subtracted all this stuff out of it. Anyway, it was like $1,200 after she had this policy forever. Like, there's so many different types of insurance. It doesn't mean it's all bad or good. It's just most times it hasn't been presented to be what it really is, right? Lack of communication there and transparency. Most everyone would love to be their own boss. People, adults especially, are tired of getting bossed around. Just think, when you were a kid and you finally got to be 13, you started to have your own mind. Like, I don't want people telling me what to do. When you got to 16, let alone 20, especially if you happen to be 20 in the house, you're like, you just can't even deal with it, with people telling you when to come home and what to do and all this stuff. You want to have autonomy over your life. And now you're finally free and you go to a job and now they're telling you when you can even eat food, when you can take a break. So everyone, I don't care what they say, there's been these seeds planted or thoughts that pop up of like, I would just love to have my own autonomy. Everyone's thinking about it, what that would be like. And so they would love to have their own business, and that can go on and on, but I don't have enough money, but I don't have the skill set, but I don't have the education, but I don't have this, I don't have that. So what we're dealing with when we're dealing with people is we're dealing with fears, we're dealing with past experiences, we're dealing with trauma, we're dealing with things where I got my hopes up, but then I was crushed. I'm dealing with so much. And so what does that really mean? Doubt. And what's the worst part is when you join WFG, you've gotten over your own, not gotten over, but you've gotten past a certain level of self-doubt. Like, you finally got past that, which probably took some time. And now you go talk to someone else who has doubt and it starts feeding more doubt into your mind. And that can be discouraging. So I like to be really real and transparent of like, what's really going on in human nature, because that's what we're dealing with. So when you hear in WFG that this is really a self-development business wrapped around a great compensation system, this is what we're talking about. Because when you're in business, I don't care what business you go into, like I have friends who sell jewelry or shoes, hair care products, everything. My sister teaches and trains basketball. You're at the end of the day, you start to deal with all of these emotions of having something of your own. And when people doubt you, or they don't call back, or they flake on you, it starts to shake your identity.
It does.
It starts to shake your identity, and no one wants to feel bad about themselves. So I want you to know that that's just real, but we have to get in a process of how do we overcome that. Here's part of it. I don't know if you guys have seen this before, is starting to understand people's human needs and recognizing their priorities. So I know we haven't gotten into scripting yet, because it's so much more important to understand, number one, my own psychology of how I operate, and other people, so that I can effectively communicate. And if I'm not there yet, I might need to borrow someone else's experience and know-how to help communicate for me, okay? But we need to understand the reasons why. So there's certain people, you know, and sometimes we're a mixture of a couple things, and we go back and forth, but sometimes there's that primary motivating factor. So there's people who are driven by certainty. You guys can write in the chat if you identify with this. Like, you need assurance to avoid pain and gain pleasure. So you need safety and security. Like, I need to have my paycheck every 2 weeks. I need to know what time my children are coming home. Hey, I know they call, but like, you better check in again at this time, because it's just like, I want to know. I want to have a schedule. I want to have this. Who relates to that? Is anybody driven by certainty, consistency of income, any of that? You can write it in the chat if you don't want to say. Nobody's certainty. Okay. Then there's people who are driven by uncertainty or variety. Okay, so I got a yes. Davita's like, yeah, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's just how people are wired. Like, I need structure, right? I need to know exactly what time certain things are happening and when, what's next, because otherwise it's like, I can't function. One of the women on my team runs like that. She's just like, well, what time? Sabrina, who is my senior marketing director, there's certain parts about her that needs certainty. What time is this? You know, any of that. So if I have someone who's certain, and even though I can be uncertain, like my sister loves variety. Like Kim, actually, I don't know, Kim, if you're driven by certainty so much, but you like structure. But my sister is the opposite. She loves variety. She doesn't like any day to be the same. She likes to travel, just adventures. Let me just do whatever. Right?
Yeah, I need structure.
Yeah, could you imagine if my sister is like, come on, Kim, we're running. Now, it could be fun to have a little of that in your life, but I'm telling you, I don't know how Kim could function in her life if she ran it the way Sharice does. And Sharice could not function in her life if she ran it the way Kim does. What's bad or good? Neither. It's just what you need. You just need, my mom needed structure too. We would be like, God, even from the food. I'm like, the same food? Because it's Wednesday? I can't. I can't. But that's just, it's just people. And so then there's significance, right? Is that there's people who are driven by significance or recognition. Like, they like feeling unique. They want to be on the figurehead. They want to have their picture out there, right? These are people who always have their camera on, like dancing and stuff. It's like, if I could keep my camera off, I really would. I would just hide, because you never know who's looking at you. Sometimes I'm picking at my face, but people like to have the spotlight sometimes, but just feel important and special and independence. There's people who are driven by that. Now, that being said, there's people who are not driven by significance, but they need significance every now and again. They're comfortable flying under the radar. I look at this like Alyssa. Alyssa does everything for the entire hierarchy, like running the PowerPoints and do that. And she really doesn't need much praise. She's like, it just needs to get done, because she doesn't like raggedy stuff. Like, it needs to be right. It needs to, let me put it together. The color here, she fixed a slide right before this BPM started. And I'm like, she's incredible. Yeah. But there's times when you're just doing so much for people, and you've been doing it since March, this pandemic, like, you just need to be acknowledged. It feels good. She doesn't need that all the time, but sometimes you need that. And that's things that we have to be aware of. And then connection and love. These are the relationship kind of people who they can't do business with you if they don't know that you love them and you care about them and what's really going on with people. And this closeness or union, there's a woman named Elizabeth on my team. She is so connection and love. And it's just like, I just need a hug from you today. I just need that. And then there's people who are driven by growth, expanding your capacity. Have you ever met with those people? So let's say you're doing an interview, you're talking. Okay, I see a couple hands raising where you're just like, I love my job, but I'm not growing. It's not challenging me. I'm not getting to the next level. I don't know what's next. It's just, they could be making $200,000 a year, but if they haven't personally grown in some way, it's just like, what are we doing here? Lawrence on my team is very much so like that. He's always just like, what's that next level for me? You know, my mindset and everything. And then there's people who are driven by contribution. We have quite a few physicians that are drawn to WFG. Dr. Q, he's a cardiologist who quit his medical, I mean, we could go on and on. Dr. Waldo, who have been completely financially independent. Mm-hmm. I can't remember the woman on Shaq's team who's a doctor and a guy too. They're not even in the business of like constantly having to see patients. They have a really good system set up where they have money coming in their medical practice, whether they're seeing patients or not. They have other people, they've scaled their business, but they're so driven by contribution and changing the world and knowing how finances have really like crippled the American society. And they are about change and how can we do this for society or groups of people or whatever. Why do I bring this up and why is it important? Number one, we need to know how I operate. Like sometimes I'm like, I feel some kind of way about this person. And then I'm like, oh, it's because I'm not getting enough significance from them. Or like, yeah, I feel like you're not valuing me, or I feel like you're pigeonholing me. You're not giving me more leadership capabilities. So it's good for me to understand where I am in the spectrum. But then it's also great. I need to understand this about my team, right? And how am I fulfilling these measurements? But then also definitely as it relates to step 2, the people I'm talking to, you know, because they'll see the corporate overview. But if I know I have a friend, a family member, or someone I prospected who's driven by significance, that's why it's good to have a quality conversation or one-on-one meeting with someone and ask some questions. How do they operate? Because so now, if I know I have a person who's driven by certainty, when they're going to the BPM, I want you to pay attention to what time we start, right? What time we end. But I want you to see like how we're able to, you know, we have things that are going on every Tuesday and Thursday and Saturday for you to just plug people in that runs. You're going to speak to them about the things in the structure that will be good that they like. On the same note, people who are driven by variety, I'm like, look at how many different types of people here. And you can go on trips, and Dan sometimes gets on and he's in Tahiti and then he's in Cabo and he's like just running this business anyway. Like there's so many aspects of WFG that speak to all these things. But as I'm inviting people or talking to people based on how they're wired or what's their primary motivating factor, I want to tell them very specific things I want them to look for in the BPM. People driven by growth or contribution. At the very end of the presentation, they're going to show a picture of all the different brokers in our leadership council. I want you to pay attention to how many different races are on there, you know, the different genders, how many married couples you'll see on there, because it's a family business. Like very few places can you go and build a business with your family, right? Or with your spouse. Like how many places we talk about making a difference, correcting an injustice, where there's an equal playing field. So I want you to really see that and say, wow, is there an equal playing field? And now I'm catering and driving what they're looking for that could resonate with them, you know, and making it congruent in what they really want to see. So we also need to be mindful though of the scenario of disaster, because now I'm hyped. I'm like, I'm good. I know how I'm operating. I got my list. I want to talk to these people. I'm excited. And now I'm calling these people and I'm enthusiastic. And my enthusiasm, this is what's great about excitement. Have you ever seen a group of people yelling and screaming and like they're like dancing around and you're like, what's going on over there? Isn't it interesting? You want to look, you're like, what are they doing? What am I missing out on? You know, it's just something about energy that is really attractive and it creates curiosity. And so if I'm energetic, I'm excited about where I am here in this business, and I'm just infusing people with my energy. Well, they're going to be naturally curious, which means they'll ask questions. But if I attempt to answer the questions and I answer them wrong or incorrectly, what did we say about human nature? Oh, jump into the conclusion. Like, oh, that looked like a really exciting, fun party over there. And now I got over there and I realized, oh, I see what this is about. I think over there just doing drugs, acting crazy. That's not for me. I don't know what's going on. You know, and we're just like, that's not really that fun. And the result is failure. And I use that loosely because failure, what is real failure? It's just another learned experience. Right. So next time I can approach it a little bit differently, right? So we want to make sure that this is why we want to joint invite. because my enthusiasm and of just what I can become, that the fact that this job that I hate, or this job that is limiting me, or this job that's not valuing everything I can do, I can take that, be my own boss, create significant income that is going to be a significant part in someone else's life. I can do that here, and I can do it part-time without giving up everything. Let my excitement drive attention. But when I get that attention and I'm not really certain of how I want to communicate, I'm like, okay, so now you're going to talk to Kyle. And Kyle will give you the spectrum of everything that you need to know, right? And doing that. Uh-oh. Go back. So as we're doing this and we're starting to share the opportunity, share the vision, you guys, we have great products. We have so many things that we can do. No, let's be real. Nobody cares. Because if people were excited about active money management and exchange traded funds and blah, 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 they would have been Googling it all day. But that's not what people are doing. They go on Netflix because it's entertaining and it gets them to get out of their mind. Or they look at $1 million listing. There we go. Or they look at $1 million listing, or this things that they can dream about what living in a house would be like, or traveling like this would be like. People, when they have free time, finally time to themselves, and they escape, what are people escaping to? Usually their dreams of what it would be like, of these fun movies and what, God, to be on Tahiti on the beach, and let me Google this stuff, and how much are flights? Let me go to Jamaica. So as I'm communicating a message, I don't need to come to people with the lower law stuff of some products. Like, even though it can help them and it could be interesting, but do I just want to be interesting, or do I want to be intriguing? Do I want to be exciting? Do I want to be attractive? So what is that? That's a vision. That's a vision of correcting an injustice of how financial products have been distributed. It's about creating business ownership in the most essential areas ever. It's that when we have a pandemic or something that can happen, that people still have complete control over themselves. I'm telling you, in this period of time after this pandemic, you're going to see a surge of some of the most wealthy people because they can take advantage of opportunities. Like, could you imagine what if in February you heard about this pandemic coming, there could be a quarantine and everything was going to go digital, and you were sitting on a bunch of cash and you could have bought stock in Zoom. Everybody is on Zoom. Progressive commercials even have Zoom. Like, the progressive people are like, on Zoom on the commercials. What if you bought stock in Zoom at the beginning of this pandemic? What if you could, we want to put people in a position where they can take advantage of every opportunity, right? And have complete and utter control of their lives. So when you're talking to people, talk to them about what you actually do know. Hey, I'm excited about the actual opportunity. And when we say opportunity, what are we talking about? Not WFG. No, it's not WFG. Oh, it's the WFG business opportunity. No, we're talking about opportunity in your life to completely take the reins and dictate whatever it is you want. Don't we really say that? It's like, God, I wish someone would give me an opportunity in sports. You say that when you're really trying to, you've been playing basketball all your life, and this was me, right? Playing basketball all my life and working hard and passing up parties, and because I just loved it. I just wanted to play, and you just want to play. You just want to do this. And you get to a point and you're just like, God, am I going to play in college? Like, people weren't recruiting me because I got injured and I wasn't sure. And I was like, somebody just needs to give me a freaking chance. Give me a chance. Give me a real opportunity, and I will prove myself, and I'll be good. And I can just put me in the freaking game. I don't know if you guys have ever felt that way, right? And that can be in your career. It can be in a relationship. Like, if someone could see what's really in me and gave me a real opportunity, that's what we're talking about. We're not talking about financial advising, this. We're talking about an opportunity to take the best of what's inside of you and your potential and capitalize on it. And it just happens to be financial services because it's the most lucrative industry in the world. But what I'm saying is, I want to take your incredible leadership skills, Kyle. He knows how to just gather people, like all his friends, and sell this dream on a team that wasn't even made, right? But feeling this dream of what they could do and where they could travel to. I'm like, if you can do that in basketball and sports, you could do that about people's dreams here. You don't have to talk about a WFG product. We're just talking about the goal, the vision of what you want for your life. I look at Kim and the things she's done in her family and how she stepped up for them. And it's because, hey, we're a family and I'm going to be here. And start sharing that vision there. And of her corporation, that's what we're talking about. And that's what gets their attention. right? And then you gauge their willingness to have an open mind to a business. Because like I said, most everyone wants to be their own boss, but ... right? But here's where the talking stops. I'm sharing my excitement. This is why it's big. This is why it could be. Could you just imagine it. If you could have this, XYZ, whatever it is that's important to you. And then you just ask questions. Have you ever been passed up on promotions? Have you felt like there was more for you? Have you felt like you've been limited? Have you felt like you love the people that you're with, but you guys can't even hire more people there? You wish that you could expand the company you're actually with. It's just a lack of financial research. Like, just ask questions, constantly ask questions and see where people are, because very few people have just asked questions of people. And so it's like the first time that people start to evaluate their lives and what they really want. You be that person for them. And then explain very briefly who we are and what we are about, but cater it to their human need, right? So number one, I'm coming with excitement, my vision. It grabs their attention and they're open to hear me. And I'm basically going to use that time to ask and pepper a couple questions, right, to see what's driving them. And if there's where they're at in life and where they want to be, and if there's a gap, what if I could help you fill that gap? You know, what if I could help you do something about it? I'm not talking about a bunch of stuff. I literally asked a really good stop and think question. You know, and people are like, I just haven't had enough time. I really have no time. I can't do this. Well, would you like to do something about that? Well, of course I would. Well, I think we should talk. Because the certainty and security that you're looking for in your job that hasn't been there, what if I could create a way that we can provide that for you? That was just a question. Are you open to see if there is a legitimate answer? Yeah, great. I want you to come to BPM, or I want you to meet down with me one-on-one. That's how simple it is. We just have to get really good at what are these questions. But the real big thing I would say is what everyone on this call can get really, really good at is just listening. Asking good questions and listening to where people are in life, because very few people care about where they're at. And not for people to complain, but like, I want to care about your dream. Tell me where you're going. Tell me what you want. And then again, you know, after I do all that, hey, 2-minute invitation. This is what I want you to listen to. This is why I want you on. And we go into that. And we're kind of going to the conclusion of this part, and we'll pick up step 2 as well as the scripting on Saturday, you guys. But then, hey, I'm having a launch party. Because guess what? I want you to see me, not WFG. We're talking about where Cristine is going. We're talking about where Kyle's going, where Mark is going, where Bethany is going. Right? And what that dream is like, and any of that stuff. And you get them on your launch party if it's that. But the main thing is I want to get a true commitment and know the days. So I'm going to give them, you know, alternative of choice during the week or on the weekend, afternoons or evenings. That's how I'm going to start closing people, you guys. And we're about to go back in the other room, but we'll pick up, you know, where we left off. But I hope you guys got something out of today. Love you all. We're going to freaking take over. It's going to be great. But I'll see you guys on Saturday. Awesome, awesome. Are they shifting this back? I think so.